From Wakefield, it's the Ice Team meme show starring NoLdAwG, inviting you to join NoLdAwG and his guest this week, Zach Austin, to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's NoLdAwG. And welcome back to the Ice-T show. Ice-T show. It's the Ice-T meme show, of course. How the fuck could I mess that up? Anyways, welcome back to the Ice-T meme show, season 2, episode number 4. We got a great guest on. We got Zach Taylor on the show. It's gonna be great. But without further ado, let's get to the segment I like to call "What Happened This Past Week with NoLdAwG," where I talk about all things that pertain in the news that I found interesting, whether it be sports, news, entertainment. I try politics, I try business, I try science, the best of my ability, But without further ado, let's begin. Some historic sports news. San Diego Padres pitcher Joe Musgrove pitched their first no-hitter in franchise history. Can you believe that? First in franchise history. What else happened to my shirt? I'm disappearing. This was big for the Padres as they haven't gotten this much actual deserved attention since Machado signed that ridiculous money heap of a contract a few years ago. Boom. The light, I don't know what's wrong with my shirt. Anyways, regardless, who gives a fuck? This is staying in. In some business news, Jeff Bezos has endorsed higher. I might change my shirt just because oh my gosh, let's try this. Let's turn this on. I'm just gonna do that. I'll leave this line because it actually kind of helps. No cap. It actually looks pretty good. I mean, it is kind of blurry. It's kind of my camera, but whatever. That kind of works better, I guess. Let's try that again. And it's fine, I guess. Yeah, that works. Okay, let's try it all fucking again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and welcome back to the ST Meme Show, season number 2, episode 4. We got a great guest today. His name is Zach Taylor. He's a friend, a teammate of mine at URI, the school I go to. But without further ado, let us go to the segment I always do in every single fucking episode called "What Happened This Past Week with NoLdAwG," where yours truly, NoLdAwG, covers everything that pertains into the news, whether it be news, entertainment, sports. I try business, I try politics, I try science, whatever the fuck else it is, to my best ability. But without further ado, let us get to the segment, my favorite. In some historic sports news, San Diego Padres pitcher Joe Musgrove pitched the franchise's first no-hitter. Imagine that. He pitched the franchise's first no-hitter, as I stumbled those words. This was big for the franchise as they haven't got any actual deserved attention since Manny Machado signed that enormous money heap of a contract a few years ago. Boom. In some business news, Jeff Bezos, I should say, has endorsed higher corporate tax rates. Fortunately, like everything else involving him, it doesn't affect him in any which way. For a man who looks like a human popsicle stick, he sure acts like a dum-dum. Get it? Because a dum-dum's all I pop. Boom. You dumb son of a bitch. I forgot to add that. In some bizarre sports news that happened during the early stages of the 2021 Masters golf tournament, U.S. golfer Matt Wolff was disqualified from the historic event this past weekend after putting the wrong score on the card. This makes as much sense as Brittany Griner beating DeMarcus Cousins in a basketball game. If they're looking at their highlights, and be honest, come on now, be realistic. Do you think it could happen? No. It's just him getting eliminated out of the tournament and disqualified and bounced is about as archaic as the world's rule of inbreeding with their third cousins, thinking it's normal. Boom. Just doesn't make sense. Whoopsies, wrong card. Oh yeah, I did that one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reports are surfacing that entertainment conglomerate Disney has created a quote real working Star Wars lightsaber late last week, I should say. Great. If letting sweats across the country collect Pokemon and sports cards thinking they're going to be the next Jeff Bezos by selling them, what makes you think letting a bunch of freaks and geeks across the country have an actual fucking lightsaber or fucking laser, for that matter, encased in metal and steel is going to be safe? I can just imagine now the lawsuits that fucking company is going to get. Boom. And some long-awaited news, the UAE has announced their first female astronaut. Now all they need to do is, 1, allow women to drive, vote, run for government, allow movie theaters to be available for the public, and 5, let women breathe out those fucking scarves around their face. Unfortunately, that's like a child asking a parent to stay up past 8:30 p.m. on a school night. It's never going to happen. According to articles online, a recent poll was put out in regards to whom the American people wanted to see run for president in the future. And surprisingly, 48% of people who voted in that poll wanted mega movie star Dwayne The Rock Johnson to run for president in the future. If one celebrity wasn't bad enough as president running the country, what makes you think one dressed up as a tooth fairy in a tutu would be any better at all? Boom! That was a big medium rare burn. And some news that will get fans excited, rap fans excited, I should say. Like a Child on Christmas, Bad Bunny and his tag team partner, WWE Superstar Damian Priest, were victorious as they defeated fellow WWE Superstars Mike the Miz Mizanian and John Morrison on night one of WrestleMania 37 this past weekend. Bad Bunny would get high praises from both current and former WWE superstars after a man who once had highlights in his hair and his tag team partner carried him for most of the match. I'm pretty sure, I'm probably 1,000% sure that the people who actually do it for a living 365 days a year are more than happy to have their spot on the card stolen by someone who's maybe 140 pounds soaking wet and under 5'9", making more money than for the night. Boom. That's a triple medium rare burn. It was made official in the sporting world that former MLB player A-Rod and billionaire Mark Lohr have purchased the Minnesota Timberwolves of the NBA from majority owner Glenn Taylor. It is known, though, and is made official that Glenn Taylor still has 2 to 3 years of complete control before he hands it over in 2023 to A-Rod and Lohr. He must be down bad if, after getting dumped by a multi-platinum recording artist, you spend hundreds of millions of dollars just for the fuck of it to buy NBA franchise that sucks. Some sad news, action movie legend. In some sad news, action movie legend Sylvester Stallone has become the newest member of former President DJT's resort in Palm Springs, Florida, Mar-a-Lago, after recent reports of real estate have surfaced. After he recently bought, I should say, a $35 million, 13,244 square foot compound near the resort, according to real estate reports like I just mentioned. The house supposedly has 7 rooms, 253 feet of waterfront, a dock, a sandy beach, a pool pavilion, and a cabana. If making 2 more Rocky sequels after number 4 was bad, Stallone has reached a new low by joining the club, and now he's even adding in the fact that he has a gun up for a brother. And in the words of my favorite Norm Macdonald, you guessed it, Frank Stallone. Some groundbreaking first in the game of golf, Japan's own Hideki Matsuyama won the 2021 Masters Golf Tournament this past weekend, becoming his country's first champion of the tournament. Hopefully, this will be a first of many, now that everyone knows that the country of Japan and their people aren't just stereotypically known for being good at math, computers, and science. And finally, after dealing with the massive loss of her husband, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, this past weekend, it's being reported that during his health decline, Her Majesty the Queen has been given 2 new corgi puppies to deal with their miserable grief. Gee, who'd have thought, after being married for someone for 70 plus years and they die, that great medicine is, buying 2 new animals that shouldn't piss over the fucking place inside for the first 2 years of their life. Boom. That's our monologue this week. What happened with NoLdAwG? Stay with us right back with our guest for this week's episode, Zach Taylor. Stay meme scheming, folks. Till then. And welcome back to another edition of the program. I hope everyone out there listening to and viewing this program are well and staying safe, because as the little red dot on my camera means go, the clock hits Wednesday, the 14th of April, 2021. It only means one thing, and we're back for an edition of the Ice-T and Meme Show. As always, if you like what you watched or listened to today, do us all a favor by subscribing or following to the show, smashing that like button, clicking that bell button so you're notified when new content drops here on this account. Finally, click that share button arrow so you can let everyone know what's going on here in the show, because I bet without a shadow of a doubt that everyone is wondering when and what's going on with the next episode of the show. With that being said, without further ado, let's bring on our next guest. He's the one and only Mr. Zach Austin, coming all the way from URI. Last minute, help me out as the security blanket episode. I would like to thank you though for helping me out this my dear friend and teammate. I know you're a busy man, so thank you.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm glad to be on the show.
Oh yeah, well, obviously you have quite the bit of stuff. You quite are busy with all sorts of stuff, and definitely, I looking back on it, I'm glad I asked you, because I definitely think, and no offense to who was supposed to be on today or even yesterday, but I feel as though you have way more ability to keep a conversation going and more interesting stuff. Although I'm not saying no one else is not interesting, but that's how it is. And I know we see each other. I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't consider it bi-weekly. I guess I don't know what you'd call it twice a week. I don't know what you call it twice a week, but I guess it'd be just twice a week, I guess. But so we you converse quite a bit or more yourself than myself on what's going on in the world. But what's life been like for you during the pandemic?
How's it been for me? Well, if we're going back to last year, I was a senior in high school. And it felt so long ago. It was pretty much just a year ago, but it felt like forever ago. Um, School shut down. It was kind of weird. We were at home for a while, then things started to slowly open back. So I went to work for a couple months, and now I'm here at URI. It's been a great time. I know there's not a lot to do, but I've made the most of it, and I've had just a great time overall.
How's it changed, since last year? I mean, obviously things have gone a little worse since then, but what's it been like since then? Or is that
Since
basically
the start,
yeah. I mean,
um, I'd say if we're going, yeah, well, I'm here now. So obviously,
yeah.
like I said before, I was in high school, now I'm in college, and I'm really happy I went here. There's so much that I can do. Some of you might know, some of you might not, but I write for the newspaper. I do a podcast for Anchor Sports called Down the Line Sports. So hopefully I can keep the conversation going here because I do it every week.
Yeah.
And obviously I play on the club tennis team. So there's just so much for me to do even with the pandemic. And I just can't wait for after because there's going to be even more.
Oh yeah. Well, you've made it known to me, and I guess no greater spot than this show because it's definitely the most successful and greatest thing to come out of South County. But you actually had a run in with the old novel coronavirus. Describe kind of that experience dealing with it and getting it.
Yeah, so I was home for the winter break in January. This was right after New Year's, so one of my other family members ended up getting it right afterward, the first weekend, and so naturally, the rest of our house ended up getting it. I was sent home from work when I learned that I was exposed, and I ended up testing soon after. I learned I had it, so I did my 2-week quarantine, and then of course, as soon as that ended, I had to come here to campus and quarantine again. So
Yeah.
that was fun. But thankfully, it wasn't too bad for me. I know it's not the same for everyone. So I'm just thankful it didn't really affect me too much. I do think I lost a little bit of my smell, but other than that, I feel perfectly fine now, and I'm just really thankful.
I mean, regardless if it's that or any other significant health scare, does it give you a better or greater perspective on life after you've had it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned was, you can do everything right, and it doesn't matter. Things can still happen. I pride myself on being someone who takes precautions to be safe. I always wear
Yeah.
a mask when I need to. I try and distance myself, things like that. And again, it was something that was brought in my house. There's no way to avoid that.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who works, at a big store every day. So I run
Yeah.
into lots of people. So I'd say no matter what you do, just be safe and be careful because anything can happen no matter how hard you try to avoid it.
Well, and it's interesting about this because it's different than the flu or anything like that, where you could be completely healthy, like you or I. I mean, I'm sure no, you're at tennis practice more often than myself, so even someone who's extremely healthy can definitely get it, and they could really be affected by it. But I'm trying to think of yeah, since you've had it though, now that you can kind of describe what it was like. What if you could say it to the general public of the world, although you're not on that grand scale of size of, I don't know, people, not no one knows you around the world, but besides the state of Rhode Island and Massachusetts. But what would your message be to those? Because there's still people who still seem to have an issue with the concept and grasping of this entire pandemic and stuff.
If anyone's still doubting, I'm not sure why. I think there's a lot of, if not a lot of data to back it up, there's a lot of personal experience, not just from me, but from lots of people who have gone it. There's millions and millions of people who have been infected by now. And again, like I said, I didn't really get hit too hard by this, but lots of people have died. It's hundreds of thousands of people. And that could be someone if it hasn't happened, it very well could. So you got to really be safe. It's not a joke. It's real. People have died. And if you don't die, you still could have serious health consequences.
Yeah.
You might have a tough time breathing or things like that. So it's a real thing and it has real consequences. So definitely be careful, and I wouldn't take it lightly.
Well, I've never, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, like fucking cancer. I've never had a guest on the show so far, and I don't know how many guests it's been. 19 people about, well, not 19 people, entirely 19 people have been, people come on multiple times, but no one's had it on there. And it's interesting to see their perspective about it. And so just from a bird's eye view, not having experienced it, but then having someone such as yourself, you've experienced it now. It's like, well, I know before you probably weren't, no, this is fake. This is created by the Chinese government and the global elitists and Hillary Clinton, and they're putting water on the frogs to make them gay. And Alex Jones type of shit or Ben Shapiro. So it's definitely sad and pathetic. And I've said this to all my guests, and it's sad, and I realized this, and it's peculiar. Ever since the last 5.5 years since DJT had been empowered and has invested his efforts into corrupting the country. It's just until it directly affects that person, they don't care. They care more about themselves and the community at large, whether it be at a local or state or national, international perspective. And it's really sad that there's still people. I mean, you looked a few weeks ago, you see the Miami Beach in Florida, where they had spring break and they're flooding the fucking streets with people and none of them wearing masks. And it's just like, do you not see this? I mean, yeah, beyond, trust me, I would love to go out in public and not wear a mask. I would love to do that, but we can't because there are people who are still getting it and people who are making this still a giant thing. But it's sad and pathetic, but eventually it's eventually we'll get I mean, I just asked you about your life and stuff. How do you, whether it be when you had it or now during this pandemic, since we've had it for over a year, how do you keep yourself sane and on that straight path of life to the eventual end of this whole thing?
It can be tough, especially at the beginning stages when everyone was inside. But it's just, I think there's definitely hope that things will get better. That's part of it.
Yeah.
And the few times I do really interact with people, I definitely make the most of it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the times I get to meet people and have conversations and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So knowing that there'll be more of that and that we're almost there, we just got to power through, that really helps.
Well, which I would have to say the same. Although personally, for me, I mean, I always dread being on campus during the school year, so I've enjoyed to an extent being indoors. I think the only thing I'd have to say is that I haven't enjoyed wearing masks, not because I think it's stupid and ridiculous. We've been doing it for so long, and I'm ready for stuff to change and go back to normal. It's not going anytime soon, so we'll see. It's interesting. I mean, now it's stuff like this. People have the ultimate freedom and luxury to do stuff like this. We can just create it. So that's definitely been the one positive in the ability to do it. I would have to say, although I mean, I don't know if you're not a math major, so I don't know how good you are with numbers. But if you had to estimate, I mean, we get all these dates and all this data saying when it could go away and all this bullshit and stuff. When do you think it'll go away? Will be the summer, the fall, winter, or next summer?
It's tough. I mean, I know President Biden's mentioned everyone hopefully being able to hang out with their families on July 4th. I don't know how realistic that is because I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that by the time we come back here to campus in the fall, things will about be at least normal enough where we can all see each other. And I don't know how realistic that is, but I really think it's possible if we all work together and get this thing under control.
Yeah, I mentioned something to the last on the last two episodes. I know it was the last one to be exact, where now that they have all these different versions of the vaccination, except Johnson Johnson. I don't know if you saw, but yesterday or today, I guess they're recalling and putting a stop on it because people are getting blood clots and stuff like that, which gets me nervous a little bit. That will it'll prevent us from keep pushing forward, getting over 4 million shots per day, but it gives me a relaxation to the sense that we'll be able to move forward and we'll have all these options for people to take, and it'll be good. I would hope by the summer. Biden said everyone was holding him very hard to getting 100 million shots before his first 100 days. He did that, so hopefully everyone will be able to get a shot by early May. That'd be great regardless of what it is. I hope though by the fall it's gone, because I enjoy, or this gives you a better perspective on enjoying life now that we've all been indoors with each other. And it definitely gives perspective to certain ones that like being outside. What was I gonna say? Fuck, I should make this more smooth. So what I wanted to talk about next, as I'm still like a damn ape, when you're not on the tennis court every single fucking day of the work week, and obviously you're not helping out people like this or doing your own podcast. What's it been like though covering sports? Because you cover for the cigar. What's it been like covering that during the pandemic? I'm sure it's awkward and weird.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, I obviously haven't worked under normal circumstances yet, but normally, you'd have a fair mix of, game recaps, profiles, and even club sports, right? Now in the fall was all entirely profiles, and in the spring it's been all entirely game recaps with the little wrinkle of it, not being certain every week.
Yeah.
I'd say almost every week I've written this semester, something has changed by the time I've gotten my assignment to when I've had to turn it in, whether that be a COVID pause or rescheduling and whatnot. It's just really difficult, but I think I've done a good job adapting to it. And I'm just really, really happy I've gone to write about these sports even in a time like this.
What's your? I don't. It could be the process in general for everyone, or yours in specific. But I'm curious to know, especially for the viewers out there, who I'm sure are very curious on each thing the guests talk about. But like I said, covering during pandemic, what's it like for you, and how do you go about covering the teams during this and during this pandemic we've had?
Well, thankfully, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. I've unfortunately haven't been able to cover a ton of home games. I've only been to 3 women's basketball games at the Ryan Center this year, and I worked on another one from the Union, but I wasn't there. Everything else I've had to cover remotely. So whether that be watching on ESPN Plus or just following on the live stat page, or just looking at it after. There's been a lot of different ways I've had to go about it. But all the information is there, and that's so helpful. If I didn't have any stats or any kind of idea of what happened, it'd be so much more difficult. So even if I can't be there, there's still a lot of ways to really wrap your mind about it and get it done in a quality way, I'd say.
Now the SIDs, the sports information directors, have they been more cooperative during this pandemic? I mean, have they been easy to work with during this whole thing, or is it a little more stressful getting contact to make sure you can do your story with certain teams or whatnot?
I'd say overall the SIDs have been really great. I just want to shout out Shane and Michaela. They're the SIDs I've been working with. And I know they're really busy, especially now. There's probably a lot more that they have to do. And they don't always get back right away, and that's okay because they're busy. But I think for the most part, they've been really accommodating. They've done their part in helping me get in contact with the people I need to interview. And they just do a wonderful job. So I'm really happy to be able to work with them.
Hopefully, if I have to contact them for any future sports guests who are employed by the university, they'll come through. I might have to fib a few pieces of information of what I'm doing it for, but we'll see. And one thing though that a positive you can take away from this is that you, like many other people, are covering some sports teams here at URI that are very successful this past year. I mean, we're not going to talk about men's basketball. They're always they were dog shit this year. Women's basketball was very successful this year for themselves. Women's tennis. We're not going to talk about soccer, or men's soccer was okay, I think. Hockey wasn't is always pretty good. The track field, but for you though, your first year now, here's you, a freshman here at URI, joining this thing, Cigar and all this other stuff, covering them, and you're covering all these teams that are successful. What's that like? What does that do to you mentally and emotionally as a first year reporter? I mean, it must give you a good feeling to be able to cover teams that are worth covering to this level.
Yeah, well, I'll just go out and say it first thing. It's a much easier interview with coach when they're in a good mood.
Oh yeah, definitely.
After a win. But no, I've had a great time covering these teams. I've particularly covered a lot of women's basketball games, women's tennis. I've covered a few times, and even the teams that weren't as good this year. I covered women's soccer a few times. I think I covered both games they won this year, which was great.
There you go.
It's great, and I know historically, women's basketball and women's tennis aren't great. So to be able to come here and see those programs start to turn themselves around, it makes you really optimistic.
For sure.
And over the next few years, they're going to keep growing and getting better. And
Yeah.
that's just more good coverage that will be coming my way. So I'm just really excited.
And when there's phenomenal, because I saw the women's tennis team, they cracked the top 100 rankings. I think they're 98th. But when they're really successful, they're really high up there. You can say, remember me, you cocksuckers? I was there at the beginning when they were really good at the beginning, and that's my beginning work. I would like to. I'm interested and curious, as I always say with everything. I read, or I shouldn't read, but we've all read and learned about how some of the teams that you arrive had to cancel some of their seasons early because of some certain cases that popped up, like football that happened too, and I think women's softball might have been another one. I can't remember. What's it like though for you as both a fan, I would say of, or I would hope of, sports teams here, or and as a sports journalist, to not be able to cover teams anymore because they have to cancel their season.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of things change really fast. Especially this semester with games being canceled. I believe, in the last week or so, there've been 8 stoppages, and a couple have resulted in the season ending. It's really frustrating because it makes it gives you more work to do. Let's put it that way, to try and scramble and figure out how you're going to make up for it if you're covering that team. Um, but I think it's good at the end of the day because when things get a little more stable later on, you'll have that experience of having to problem solve and adapt, and it'll
Yeah.
make it a lot easier for you. So it may be frustrating and tough in the moment, but I think it's really valuable experience.
Now, I don't know if you read this. I'm sure maybe you might have, but I read earlier on Twitter that the assistant coach for the men's team, Kevin Sun, isn't coming back next year. And that was kind of shocking, although I'm not surprised. He was probably one of the best coaches, not my personal favorite over David Cox. Thoughts on that? What comes to mind when you hear that?
I did see that. I believe he's pursuing a coaching role somewhere else. I don't know for sure. I haven't really looked at it too much, but things are definitely changing for the men's team. Fats Russell's obviously on the way out. He's transferring to Maryland, and it will be really interesting to see how this team adapts to that, and tries to find a new identity over the next several years. I think it's going to be a big challenge, but I think they definitely might be able to step up for that.
Where do they go? I mean, you kind of alluded to it there. It's going to take a while, but where do they go from here after having a shitty year this past season until then next year? They got to get a new assistant coach and all this stuff. What do they do from here? To get back to where they were during his first year or two as head coach.
I think it's definitely rallying around these younger guys. Ish Leggett was a freshman this year, and he looked really good out there. Antoine Walker's another guy who's coming back. Jeremy Shepard's coming back for a 5th year, an extra year of eligibility that the NCAA is granting these athletes because of COVID. They gotta let those guys lead the team, and a couple other guys on the bench, if they can step up, I think they'll improve for sure.
What was it? Fuck. Prediction though. This not that we're talking about that. What's your prediction for this team next, or the team next year, and then as well as what will happen with David Cox, next season?
Well, I think that this team definitely can get better. Obviously this past season it was weird. There was no fans. COVID affected the offseason. I think this is a relatively new group. You had a lot of transfers,
Yeah.
including the Mitchell twins, who I forgot to mention earlier. Those are other key players on this team, and Makai is coming back from injury. So I think now that this group has had more time to mesh together, that will definitely help the chemistry. I think the record will be better. And if the record's better, I think David Cox is here to stay for sure.
Hopefully, I mean, they're paying him a lot of fucking money to coach here, and they expect results, and it's embarrassing to see them drop as much as they, regardless of the transition or transfer of players that they had. Now we're going to more, I would think, a topic that you may enjoy. It's all about favorites and your favorites. What has been in the almost complete year that you've been here? You're right, for the cigar and stuff like that. What has been your favorite story to cover versus your least favorite story to cover?
I don't know if I have a least favorite story. There's some stories that you enjoy more. I'd say by far though, my favorite team to cover this year has been the women's basketball team.
Yeah,
Tammy Reese, head coach, is in her 2nd season. She's just amazing, super energetic. Even as someone who's spectating, not playing, you want to play for it. She
yeah,
just brings that really good energy. And the team was really good this year. The 3 games I went to in the Ryan Center were all women's basketball games. I had a blast at all of them. And even the game I didn't go to, I ended up covering the A10 tournament game that they played in, which I believe was the farthest they've gone there since
yeah.
2003. I covered that right here in this chair from my desk. I
There you
watched the
go.
ESPN stream. I went to the Zoom post-game press conference, and I wrote it within the span of like 7 hours or so. And even though it was, a lot of work for a short amount of time, I just had a blast. It was a great game to cover,
Yeah.
great experience. And I know that story was really popular. So I'm just really glad I did that. Things like that I think will help me in the long run.
There's a handful of important places. There's the Eiffel Tower, Ellis Island, the Pyramids of Giza, Johnny Carson's desk for 30 years at the Tonight Show, and then there's your chair, Zach Austin chair they covered for the A10 tournament game for the first time since 2003. So that's a pretty big thing. Also, you've mentioned quite a bit of positions and moving up in the ladder for the cigar and the radio station. What's that like? The cigar running for that versus the radio station.
So, I haven't really done a lot to this point for WRU. I did do studio for one game, and I was supposed to call one, which unfortunately didn't end up happening due to technical difficulties. But this whole past year, I've been a contributing writer for the cigar, which means I write a story every week, basically. And I haven't written every single week, but pretty much almost every week I've had a story, which is really great. Next year, and elections are a little more than a week from now, a week and a half. I plan on running for staff writer, which means I write 2 stories every week. Now, this is interesting. So obviously I'll continue to write sports. That's something I'm really passionate about, but this might give me an opportunity to expand my horizons a little bit. I might be able to write about other things that happen on campus, maybe with clubs or university news. Whether or not that happens, I'm willing to do it. I think it'd be a good challenge for me to, learn more skills. On the WRU end, I plan on running for RU2 sports director, which was a position that was not filled this past year. I believe I'm running uncontested. So basically that position entails so RU2 covers women's basketball, men's and women's soccer, and I believe football. So if I was that spot, I'd set up, commentating teams before every single game for those sports. I'd go and set the equipment up, and then either I'd call it or I let the guys who are calling it go ahead and do that. And ultimately I can choose which games I decide to cover myself.
There you go. Positive.
And the best part about that is if I'm doing the cigar as well, I can just write about that same game I go to. So it's a lot more
kill 2 birds with 1
done.
stone.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just really thrilled. I'm excited about it, regardless of how much I write for the cigar. Being able to do both at once, I think, will be a really cool experience.
Now, an important 2 last questions for this section, and we'll move on to my favorite section of this entire podcast. If you had to choose right now, either be a sports announcer on radio or television, or sports journalist, what would you choose right now, Zach Austin?
Man, that's tough. I haven't done a lot of play-by-play yet, so if I was, more skilled there, I might give a different answer. But I think, reporting is just really cool. Being able to, get to know these teams, these coaches, these players. It's really cool to be able to follow along their story and help share that with others. I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. You've done this for a year, so it's not an incredible amount of time, but sticking with something like this for a first time for an entire year is commendable. And I raise my glass, and that requires a lot of props. Your wish list of athletes, whether it be you or I, or in general, professional athletes, whatever it may be, or other personalities, who would they be? It doesn't have to be an extravagant alphabetical list with a million people. It can be a few or one. It doesn't matter.
So is this like my favorite athletes here, or just anywhere?
Well, it can be like someone you could be like, oh yeah, I see that person on TV. Yeah, it'd be really cool to talk to them, or interview them, or ask them questions about stuff.
Yeah, I obviously Fats Russell, you are a legend. I wish I'd be able to talk to him. I unfortunately missed covering him. I didn't really cover the men's team, so definitely that. Who else? I know Isaiah Coulter. He graduated, or he got drafted before I got here. Being able to talk to him would be a cool experience too. So I'd say those 2 guys for sure. They're really successful athletes and players who have a good chance, if they haven't already, to go to the next level and produce.
For sure. Now, preface this, or whatever the fuck the word is, in advance. Warning, caution. Last week, I tried to play, or the last 2 weeks, I've tried to play videos. Now, on the I've Seen Meme Show with yours truly, motherfucking NoLdAwG, I do a section in the middle where it's videos, and I play videos, and I get the person to react to them. The prior weeks, it's worked fine. The last 2 weeks, this past week and the week prior, they were freezing, they were crashing, it was not working that well. So I'm going to try it again. Now, these videos in advance, I want to make a warning sign. They can be a little out there, edgy, a little against certain groups of people in the world that I find a little out there. I have a little dark sense of humor, so whatever it is, if you take offense, I apologize in advance. Not just kidding. But you may like them. If it doesn't work, then we'll just go to the final section, the personal section, and I'll let you go on your merry way. How about that?
All
So
right, sounds like a plan.
what I'll have you do though, if it's working and you see it and it's playing at crashing and you hear the sound, just give me a thumbs up.
Gotcha.
So let's share this. Let's make sure I click share sound, and we're gonna go to this one. And I'm gonna play this. Can you see it play?
I just see a blank screen.
Is it working now?
Yeah, I don't see anything.
No, damn it. Let's try this one real quick.
Hey, Twitter world, it's me, OJ Mahone.
Did you see that
I could hear
one?
the audio. I couldn't see that one. No.
Damn it!
Nothing's showing.
Let me
Just
stop.
a blank screen.
Let me stop this. Let's close that out. We can work with Adobe later. Let's go back to here. Let's go back. This is really fun. Come on, let's load. Let's click this. Let's refresh this. Let's pause that. And we'll try this again. This is really, I don't know this. Maybe it's just because I don't have no storage on here. We're gonna pause that. OJ, quiet. OJ, stop, please. I beg you, please. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Go from the beginning, click that video, and if this doesn't work, la-di-da-di-da, we won't do that. Okay, let's do this. Okay, that's ready. Back to Zoom. Let's click share screen. Let's click that. That.
All right, I can see it.
Two gorillas having sex in their enclosement at the zoo. A funny video, a great prank. But yeah, you can't really judge the person on that. Let's play the next one.
So in tasting, what we do is take a small amount right off the top. It doesn't take much. That's the warmest part right here. I'm going to invert the spoon. Cover all 9,000 taste bud. Aerate it. Warm it up. Driving up that top note, that cream, pure vanilla, sweeteners. That's a 10.
Yeah, that guy's a
man.
freak. I'm gonna put that out of the way first. I don't know about you, Zach. You may be a little different because you're from Massachusetts, might do stuff different there. But for me, as someone from Rhode Island, when I go to Brickley's down the street and on Main Street in Wakefield, or you go to my freezer, I just take about 4 scoops of chocolate ice cream, put in there, and just eat it. I don't just go around and have oral sex with it or anything like that. I don't know about you. But this guy's definitely a cool guy. I say 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that guy's definitely has an interesting way of eating. I've notoriously been accused of being a fast eater, so I don't think I'd pull anything like this. But I will say, if my feet could move as fast as his mouth could, I'd be in much better shape.
Well, I think this guy's a taste tester for whatever ice cream company it was. So this video also looks old, so I don't know if they do that anymore. This next video is a great one. I preface this greatly. Certainly a way of clapping, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that guy's into it.
He's very into it. Let's get that one on the list. Let's try this one. Oh, wait, whoopsies, wait.
Hey,
Oh,
Twitter
shit,
world,
fuck, sorry, my
it's
bad.
me,
Oh,
OJ
OJ,
Mahone.
stop, please. I gotta get out of here. OJ's a legend.
We were talking about that one.
Yes, we were talking about yesterday. I was gonna keep this. I kept the secret enough, and then I had to test it out here. Whatever you want to say about his criminal impact on life, that is, definitely a dark day. That's awful. Whatever happened, whether he was convicted or it happened or not. athletically wise, he is probably one of the greatest running backs of all time. Rushed for 11,000 yards. He is on many of the all-decade, and he's on the all-century team for the NFL. He is a decent actor. He's in the Naked Gun movies. I love his Twitter a lot. I often I think every single tweet he puts out, and I often retweet every single one. Could cost me in the end, but I don't care. This is 2021. If you are a snowflake, I don't care. But OJ is one heck of a guy. What are your thoughts on OJ?
It's funny. Someone at again, I don't know what happened. I mean, we probably know what happened, but I'm not here to judge that. But after spending a lot of time away, from the rest of society, be able to go on Twitter and just entertain, even if it's him kind of, using his past as humor.
Oh yeah.
It's very interesting to watch. I did not expect that when I heard the news that he would be being released.
Oh yeah.
So,
well,
I don't know.
Even for him,
interesting guy.
Even for himself to garnish where the fuck it is. Almost 1 million fucking followers on Twitter, and for someone who's not verified or will ever be verified, I mean, it's pretty impressive that you can gather that much of a crowd in the short period of time. I mean, he's not as impressive as Bad Baby making $1 million on OnlyFans in 6 hours, but he's interesting. And we mentioned this the other day at practice when Andrew Luck got injured, and he goes, I just drafted him, and I'm gonna kill somebody. And you're like, OJ, you're on Twitter making a video for millions of people across the world, right? You can't.
He knew what he was doing.
Yes, he's almost clickbait sometimes. I like when he talks about social justice stuff and police brutality, because he's like, wait a minute, OJ, you killed somebody. How can you talk about equality when you killed somebody and you ruined a family's life forever? Let's try this. Is another one of my favorite videos.
Oreo McFlurry from McDonald's. Can't get much better than this.
Oreo McFlurry from McDonald's. Shut the fuck up and take a bite from me, bro. Eat that McFlurry, baby. Oh, by the way, it can get better. Get a McDouble, bro.
The man's not ashamed of his body.
No.
Props to him. I thought it was funny. A friend of mine in this Discord group that I'm a part of, he sent me, and I was dying of laughing. I was crying. It was so great. These next videos I have on here, a little edgy, we'll say, a little out there. For the viewers and listeners at home, whoever maybe how many of you there may be out there, I apologize in advance.
I'm retarded?
An edgy video. Here's a great one I just added yesterday.
Good morning, good afternoon, pretty. You look very attractive and gorgeous and beautiful naked on base station last night, baby. Yeah, baby. Ding a dong. Tasty. So I couldn't phone you last night. It's just I get nervous, and I don't always get through to you. So I'm a big fan of yours. Mwah!
This guy's got a whole lot of shit going wrong with him. I do declare. First of all, his hat looks like his hat looks like he just got out of his 1985 high school reunion basket. It's so dusty and disgusting. His skin is more oily than I don't even know a bag of fresh oil. It's oil doesn't even go in a bag. His teeth are a mess. It makes Austin Powers look like he's American. Props to him for having the balls to make a 30-second video professing his love for someone. I personally think on the cool guy scale, 1 to 10, 1 not being cool, 10 being the coolest of guys, he's got to get at least an 8. Well, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. This guy, I feel like he knew he was doing in this video. I mean, maybe for humor, I don't know, but very British, definitely.
Very British.
Very British.
Yeah, and to be talking to a girl over PS4 is a positive thing. Here's another one.
Hi, it's Fitz with Slap Chop. You're gonna be in a great mood all day because you're gonna be slapping your nuts. Now look, here's a potato. 1 slap, you got big chunks for stews. 2 slaps, home fries in a second. And look at this. But you add a mushroom, the more you do, the finer it gets.
I didn't know that was happening. That made me cringe, and I'm gonna take that off. Here's a no, no, don't want to delete that. Shit, fuck, damn it, motherfucker, come on, leave it. Damn it, what the fuck's going on? Okay, let's play this.
Richard, what's your favorite animal? What's your favorite animal?
Monkey.
Okay. Okay, let's play this final one. We can get out of this.
Oh, you can say that over the phone, Batman, but if I had you here, I'd pound you to a pulp.
Ayo!
Start pounding, Joker.
Ayo! That's my Cesar Romero, my favorite Joker of all time. I got some other videos on there, but that's for another time. Okay, this is the final segment on the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between, because we're pro everyone here. This is the personal section where I go down memory lane and make it more personal, I guess. And let us begin. Okay, so obviously I joined the team last year. You joined this team in the fall. If you could go back deep in the recesses of your mind, first thoughts of meeting the wonderful, amazing, savage host that is NoLdAwG.
I knew you're a very interesting guy. You definitely a very unique personality. Definitely someone that you could have an interesting conversation with. So now we're here.
Thank you. I appreciate the bluntness, the shortness, and the briefness, and the honesty that you have there. Yes, I try. Regardless of who it is, regardless of where it is, if I feel comfortable at home and my palms aren't sweating like the Amazon rainforest, I just let it go, and I let everything say and go. Could get me in some trouble. It has in the past, but oh well. If I had to say, and I'm gonna completely honest, I forget when it was, to be honest, because the fall was really just a blur. It really was just at home, I think, a lot. This is one of the few times, and I'm not bullshitting here at all. I keep it a stack 100 with everyone. I can't really remember. I'm trying to think. I think it was just at a practice outside. I mean, there's definitely that group of friends, a group of people that hang with each other, their own little posse that they shut off doors to everyone else. Aiden and Anna and Grace when she's the court jester of the group, and Gianna and then yourself. And I think I was just seeing a gaggle of friends, and I think yourself and Aiden and everyone else busting each other's balls, and I enjoy doing that, not physically, but metaphorically and comically. And I thought, damn, this man's a serious person. He commits to the game. He commits to life itself. He likes to talk. He likes to talk. I can definitely understand. He can, as my dad would say about my grandfather, he can talk a dog off a meat wagon. He enjoys to talk more than myself, and he likes to put some money on his name, and he likes to when he accomplishes something successfully, he likes to mention it, and that's good for him. And I think that something, and this honesty, there's something missing from the team, and it was competitiveness, in the sense where no one was bringing their A game, and I think people weren't all in the sport, and they weren't committed enough. And I think yourself was a spot on impression of being committed, because you're there every single fucking day you can be there, compared to everyone else. I'm no stranger to constantly saying I can't wait to leave. I'm only here for 2 days. I'm out of here, suckers. But it's definitely great, and I feel as though many other people there are not as cultured as you and I in many other things. Case in point, yesterday at practice, when those I'm not going to say it, skanks were on the other side of the tennis courts trying to play tennis, and we talk about many things, and I can always count on yourself for a great laugh or some of the edgy stuff I say. I can say, which is the next point I kind of want to divulge into. We shared many of great moments in the car rides for indoor practice at the witching hour, and it's always enjoyable and memorable. That I want to say that also in another sense. And I'm not, the top leaderboard or ladder for the team, although I will be taking a position next year, or next semester starting. I'd love for your thoughts on the team, and where they could improve, or what they did well, and if there is that such of an area.
I think the team, again, this is a weird year, right? I think they did overall a good job. I definitely think no one's going to be perfect this year, but I think for what we were able to do, I think we did a great job. There's a lot of different availability for practice. Not everyone's going to be able to get there, and being able to just, maybe not all at once, but everyone on the team really, I think, if you had the chance to get to know each other. So, all those things, I think that it was a great job overall. I'm thrilled with how it went this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with that in a sense. I think, I'm not been on the team for that long, but I feel as though this year, even with the pandemic, I feel as though the team itself did a better job of becoming one. I feel like not freshman year, sophomore when I joined, because I didn't do it freshman year, which I regret tremendously. I think that sophomore year, there were a lot of mini groups, a lot of small social groups that stuck to themselves. And although, sure, they were friendly to others maybe, but I think they had high standards for themselves and they didn't make the team have great chemistry. But now I think we're all in the same boat together. And I think there's not one person on the team that's phenomenally out of the park, phenomenally great at tennis. Not counting ourselves, of course. But I feel as though that's definitely where it is. Although I think that the team fucking lacked in attendance and accountability near the end of the season. But that's for another day, another story here with NoLdAwG. I'm curious though. I mean, obviously you enjoyed the sport. I would think, at least that's what it seems like. I'm curious, what got you into tennis? Was it parents, father, just in general? What got you? I'm curious.
Yeah, so my dad and my grandfather, his dad, played tennis, so it kind of runs in the family. But
There you go. Tweet
I
that.
I can remember playing, as young as 5 or even earlier. Just going down to the high school courts to hit every summer when it was nice outside, and I always enjoyed it. I always did other sports, mainly, I think, but around middle school, high school, I really started to I really like doing this. I want to do it more. I joined the high school team. I played every year I could. My first win and my last win were 2 of my favorite matches, and
there you go.
I've just always loved the sport. Playing or just even being around it. It's just awesome, and I love it so much.
Yeah, no, I think that it's similar to myself. I mean, my grandfather was pretty significant in high school, and I'm not trying to toot my own family's horn. He taught at CCRI for many years as a tennis coach there, brought them to several championships. I mean, he was probably, if I'm guessing you know who John Wooden is, the famous coach of UCLA. I'm not saying he was him. That would be weird. But he was almost in the sense where he was very successful there. He coached at North Kingston High School in Narragansett. He was successful there. And my father went to Narragansett High School, and he was successful to a certain degree in many sports there. And then he's been coaching at SKHS, at Kingston High School, for those who aren't from this area. He's been there for the last 27 years, and he was very successful there. And I don't remember when I was younger, but growing up, hitting occasionally, and then once middle school happened, I joined the middle school team, and I got more serious into it. Although for me, though, regardless of who I had back in, I regret not taking more advantage of it. I was more of just, back. I've always been what they are for the club team now, more of just a social person doing it. But it definitely was a soft spot in my heart, and I said this is definitely fun, and I enjoy it immensely. I'm also curious though, if you had the option answering this part question with 2 answers, would you rather cover sports or play tennis, or sports reporting, or playing tennis for your rest of your life, or not for your life? What do we enjoy more?
Man, it's funny because you could do both. I know some sports you can't play forever. That's a tough decision. I don't know. I think there's a lot of room to grow for both for me, but I've done tennis forever, and not being able to do that again would be really difficult for me. And I've just gone into sports reporting. I hope I do it for a long time, but tennis has always been a part of my life, so I'm gonna have to go with that.
Yeah, there you go. An interesting story that you shared with myself and a handful of others on team. Your dad became the head coach, or the coach at your high school back home, wherever that may be, and you had the opportunity to become the assistant coach with him, which I don't think there are many the father-son duo coaches, regardless of the sport, in this United States that we call home. Kind of share the story of how that kind of came about for both parties.
Yeah, so I don't think anything officially has happened yet, so I'm not gonna go super in depth on on that. But I will say that the opportunity was there for me. I was notified that a couple weeks ago, and at first I didn't, I wasn't really super like excited about the idea of coaching. I didn't think I'd be a great fit, but when I was told that it was possible, I lit up. I was so excited.
Yeah.
Especially, specifically coaching the team I played for, after not being able to play last year, is just amazing. I've obviously having my dad as the head coach, I know who I'm working with. I know the players really well. If that does end up happening, and, I'm excited for if the opportunity, if it comes up, and, yeah, definitely. I'm just excited.
Oh yeah, it's definitely is. I mean, I had played in this local tournament until they changed the sport of the tournament for many years, and my dad knew the person who was I don't know if she was anymore. It was a family-run tournament. The mother and husband lost a child, and he was in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. I forget what it was. And they had a tennis tournament in memorial of the son's life. And both one son in particular helped more than the other one, and both parents kind of ran it, but it was more the mother and the son and another person who played tennis in the town. Anyways, I had played it for probably 4 or 5 years maybe, and helped out a bunch with certain areas of the tournament. And I think my freshman year, she messaged me looking for a JV coach because she coaches Prout High School, which is in South County of Kingstown, I should say, and looking for a JV coach. And I was like, holy shit. And listen, I know I'm only 20, almost 21 in a few weeks. And, but to be this young and someone to think of someone myself, there's many other people that are more qualified or better for that. And to be asked that, regardless of who you are, is definitely something that it means a lot to the heart and the soul of the person. I ended up not being able to get it because I didn't have a car on campus in my school schedule, which I regret not being able to do, but life's too short to complain about that. What I want to end with, though, talk about Anchor Sports a little bit, if you'd like. You are the director of podcasting of Anchor Sports, which has been around for a few years, I believe, since I started here. You were in my freshman year. It has now taken off exponentially, I would have to say, and I would think you would agree. If you could say or think of something for them to improve on, what would it be?
I definitely think getting more people involved and active in the club will be really important. I think even now in this semester we've gotten a lot more activity going on, whether that be social media writing, what have you. And I don't know how long I'll be director of podcasting for, but I really enjoy doing my show. And I hope I can do it as long as I can. It's really fun. I do it with my friend Ryan McIver. We talk mostly about NFL, NBA. It's just fun. We get to really inject our personalities into that, which is something I don't usually get to do with reporting. So that's a cool change of pace. But I think the club has a bright future. I know we're definitely going to get more people next year, and I think it's going to grow. It's going to be a big thing soon. I pretty much guarantee that.
Well, hopefully, who's ever out there listening, if they're into sports and they go to URI, which I'm sure there's tons and tons of people, join Anchor Sports. I was part of the founding group. Unfortunately, my path diverged into a different path, and I didn't stick with it, unfortunately. But what can you say? If you are serious about sports, join Anchor Sports at URI if that happens to be your university that you're currently enrolled in. What's that experience been like for you? Whether it be as the director of podcasting or just being part of it in general?
Yeah, so I didn't start my show right at the beginning of the semester. In the fall I got involved immediately with everything. That was the one thing, it took a little while. But I got a couple episodes in the fall. It was great to just be able to learn how to do it. There's definitely a support system there. And then a few people moved on and I ended up moving up to director spot. I haven't done a ton yet with it, but if I stick with it, there's definitely gonna be something to do. I've trained a couple people, really gotten to learn the setup in our Ranger Hall studio that we use. And just being able to make connections with people and really lay the foundations for a club like that, it's a good experience. And also just having a blast on that podcast. So it's just really thrilling. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, like I mentioned, I didn't have the best experience with that. And I think only because, and I'll make this clear, and whatever the fuck the guy's name was and other guys involved, I'm sorry, but I'm going to put you on full blast. When I joined it my freshman year, they were just getting together, a few guys who played for the football team, football team that started, Sean Anderson and someone else. And they got other friends and stuff like that, other people involved with sports. Kevin Moore or whatever his name is, who I think is graduating this year, and Will Pip was part of it, and Stone Freeman had somewhat to do with it a little bit. Anyways, they had done it and it was just starting up. So there was nothing really going on. They definitely had different groups it could be a part of and starting. And I was assigned a partner for the podcast because I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And he's one of the ball managers for basketball managers and ball boy water boys for the URI men's team. And I was part of it. And, we started talking a little bit on what we wanted to do about it, what we wanted to call it, whatnot. And the next thing you know, poof, I heard nothing back from him. And we had done nothing. I didn't know really what to do because they weren't really helping every single one deal with. And it was really sad and disheartening that, I was just sitting there doing nothing and I was wasting my time. And then I asked my partner, I was like, hey, did you leave the group or something or at the club? He was like, yeah, I kind of did. And I was like, fuck you motherfucker for doing that to me, not even telling me, hey, I left. And then I kind of just left and kind of left on a bad note. I could have stayed and, said something or asked for help, but I didn't because that's my thing. I screw stuff up like that. And looking back on it, do I wish I stayed? Yeah, I would have probably got more clout, and I always love getting more clout, but it is what it is. I'll find my way to get interesting interviews for this show. Believe me. But it's definitely interesting, and I'm glad to see there are people who this helps them both personally and professionally. And I wish nothing but the best for them. I'm curious. I'm interested for your show now. I know it's sports oriented compared to mine, which is more of a variety act. How do you run your show versus obviously this one?
To start off for my show, once again, my show is called Down the Line Sports from Anchor Sports Network. Podcasting was something I want to do for fun. I obviously enjoy, reporting and playing tennis. I have a lot of fun with those, but this is something I can just lay back, just have a chill time with. So, we just kind of wanted to, me and my friend Ryan just wanted to sit down and just talk sports and have fun with it. It's not just like, hey, this happened. Like we give our thoughts about it, we say how we feel. And we talk about a lot of different topics. Obviously right now it's kind of tough. There's not a ton going on. It's not quite the NFL draft yet. NBA is not in the playoffs yet. So I think for the last few episodes of this semester, this will be a little preview for anyone who listens to my show. We're going to do more of a first take type thing for at least this week, if not after. We're going to limit our topics to just a few as opposed to a bunch, which is what we usually do, especially when free agency happens, it's really busy. And we're just going to go all the way in depth. We're going to give all kinds of different angles and thoughts. May hopefully be a little bit of a debate too. I've really been wanting to do like a real big debate on there because I just love watching First Take and shows like that. So that's kind of what we do. It's pretty simple. Maybe at some point, next year or in the future, we'll have guests, but haven't had any guests so far.
Okay. How long are your episodes usually?
Anywhere from an hour to hour and a half. Last couple have been an hour and a half, except for our last episode, because we actually have had a tough time getting in the studio. And there's obviously, again, this year with COVID, either the studio's been closed or something's happened where we can't be in the room together. So it's kind of created some obstacles. So the weeks after gaps are typically longer, but yeah, usually an hour and a half is how long we go.
And then where can you find your show?
Yeah, so Anchor Sports Network uses SoundCloud, so you can go directly to our page, Anchor Sports Network, or you can go to our website, and there should be a link on there. I always post my episodes on Twitter. You can also, even find on Twitter, but definitely a couple different places you could look for sure.
Okay, and I'm trying to. Oh, what else do I? What's your end goal? I should say of this show. Do you want to continue this after school, or is this just something you have to piggyback onto something else down the line?
It's hard to say. I like how you incorporate down the line there. I don't know if you did that on purpose.
Oh no, I didn't mean to do that on purpose. It just happened.
It's funny. Just real quick with the name. That's a name that I thought of and I knew it was perfect right away. And you can incorporate that any way you want. But no, again, I started just for fun. If that grows into something, I'd be more than happy to continue it. But I'm just here for the ride. I'm here for the moment.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Whatever happens. I'm just excited to be doing it.
And just shooting those bow and arrows up in the air, seeing where they go that's a great way to live life. The final thing I want to talk about now, it hasn't happened in a while, and it won't happen again for the rest of the season because I won't be there, so I slur my words. many moons ago, one of us, not me, because I can't pull off, but another person on this in this episode of this podcast has a love for a certain type of shirt, and it is a muscle shirt. I'm curious to know the few times you wore. You don't do it all the time, but I'm curious on your love for muscle shirts and why you have them, because not everyone can pull it off, and it's definitely an interesting thing to wear to practice, especially when it's starting to fall.
Well, I'll just say I can't pull off a muscle shirt as good as my dad. All right. But, I wore it when it was really hot out, like 70 or so degrees. I was like, what's the point of wearing sleeves? It's hot outside. So
of course.
I wore a muscle shirt. Maybe it'll come back if it gets really warm next week or two. But, I like to use it sparingly. So its effect really, stands out. But no, it's just a lot of fun.
There you go. Well, I'm going to say this, and I mean this with the most sincerity I can in my deepest depths of my heart. Zach, I'd like to sincerely thank you for taking the time out of your week last minute. And I want to preface this last minute to help an old chunk of coal, as Norm McDonald would say, with this edition of the show. It means more than words can express for someone such as yourself to help someone out like me with a project such as this one. As I said earlier at the beginning of this program, and I'll repeat myself right now, if you liked what you're watching or listening right now, everyone, do Zach and myself a huge fucking favor by subscribing or following to the show, the podcast, I should say, smashing that fucking like button like no fucking tomorrow. Pull a Ray Rice on that bitch. Turn on that bell notification button so you're notified when new, even better content comes out, like next week's episode. And most importantly, you know what that is, Zach? It's clicking that share button so your friends know about it and they can share with their friends and family so you can do it, because it helps exponentially grow this. I'm not great at math. Don't know if Zach is, but exponential is great. It helps. Zach, you want to plug anything of yours before we end?
Yeah, just thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed the way you laid it out. It was really good. It was a blast to be on here for the last 45 minutes, an hour. I just say, if you want updates on anything I do, whether that be, my articles, Anchor Sports, whatnot, my Twitter is at @ZachAustin_URI. You'll find all kinds of things on there. That's my main source of, posting content that I do. And other than that, I just hope to keep, writing and posting episodes, and I'm just here for the ride. I hope you guys enjoy what I do as well.
Yeah, well, with that, I hope you all keep it 100 with meme and scheming, and I'll leave you with a quote from a hero of mine, a role model, the legend himself, Johnny Carson himself. I bid you all a heartfelt good night. Take care, everyone, and until next week, when we see each other again. Good night, everyone. Hey everyone, NoLdAwG here. You just watched another edition of the Ice-T Meme Show here on YouTube, or listen to it on Spotify or SoundCloud or Apple Podcast or Stitcher, where the hell else you watch. Anyways, what I want to say is I want to thank you for watching it. If you could do us a huge favor here, to not just myself, the founder, creator, whatever you want to call it, originator of this podcast, but to the guests here on the show and the other fans who have subscribed, do us a favor. Go down below, click that like button wherever the hell it is may be on your device or on your application service. After you smash that button, click the subscribe button, then follow that, then click the bell button so you can be notified, and you can personalize it to whatever version you want. And then after that, the most important one, which I preface, sure, liking it is really important because it tells me that you appreciate this content and like what's coming here, or subscribing means you want to invest in it, and bell notification, whatever it may be. Anyways, that share button is important because you watching it means a great deal to me. It means more than I can explain. But that share button helps me know that you are sharing with other people because you find it interesting and you want them to find it interesting as well. And then it helps grow the channel exponentially. So thank you for that. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and I'll catch you next time on here on the Ice-T Meme Show podcast. Take care and stay meme and scheming.